I'm going to invite Sean McCann on to Leverage today. And I am so excited to see how this discussion goes because every time Sean and I get on a call, it starts off as a 15-minute and then it ends up in an hour. And then we're like, okay, we'll just continue that another time. And what were we talking about? And there were 19 discussions. And did we ever actually finish the thought? So thank you for finding the time to record this episode. So welcome, Sean McCann of Ingalls and Volker out in Ottawa.
Thank you, Rachel. Glad to be here. Listen, you and I go on clever rants every time we get on the phone. That's how I would define it. It's a clever rant.
Okay, there you go. I like that. It jazzes up what I would say is my chaotic mess sometimes that goes my 19 tabs in my head. But full transparency. So Sean was my coach for a time through the Richard Robbins organization. I enjoyed every single moment of it. And I think it's a great way to kind of segue into what we're going to talk about today, which is ultimately, what does an agent do anymore, right? I mean, and what is the value that we should be bringing? And, there's a lot of dichotomy out there about people, and I've seen a lot of hate online of like, agents are overpaid and, they don't do anything and AI is coming and they're dinosaurs. And I some of it, by the way, for some, I agree.
Some of them are overpaid.
Some of them are overpaid. Yes, I'm sorry. Let's listen. We all are paid well. The reality is that, what are you delivering? And in fact, I'll start this story off. I pitched on a piece of business about a month ago. And I was so impressed with this older couple. They had a full page of questions for me.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, and I really said to them, like, you're amazing. Like, I think everyone should come to a conversation with those questions. And, how are you going to sell and what are you going to do and what's the percentage? And I said, whether you pick me or not, I beg of you, please ask the agent what they're going to deliver to you for whatever that percentage is. Let that percentage be the last question that you ask. But are they going to sell your house proactively? How are they going to sell your house? How are they going to engage with the market? What are they going to do? And what are they going to deliver to you? Not how much am I going to have to pay you?
Yeah, I love this. You know what? I call these like the KPIs of real estate. And to some extent, we as an industry have kind of done a disservice to ourselves and to the consumer in a way, because we talk about features and we don't really talk about outcome. And it's an interesting thing. And, if you ask an agent, I've asked my investment advisor the same question, like, you beating the market? How often are you beating the market? Like, what's the value proposition here? Because there's this thing called Q-Trade, you know what I mean? And it's the same with realtors. Like, we all go in with our fancy magazine and our homes and land subscription and our stager and all that stuff. And it's really difficult for a consumer to see us as anything other than commoditized. And so to some extent, I blame our industry on, being too feature rich and too afraid of the actual KPIs that underlie our results. I can tell you, I look at those numbers really closely, and there's dramatic differences in the outcome that agents generate for the consumer. And I think it's really important. I love that this couple had questions. And I think some of the questions should be, the number of questions, like, what's it look like? What's the probability of an outcome with you? Is this house going to sell? How does that look relative to the market? How many times do you do this a year? 1, 2, 3.
By the way, so interestingly enough, one of the questions they had was, how many houses have you sold in this area?
Ah, interesting. Yeah,
And
right.
so let me ask you something. Do you agree with that question or do you disagree with the question? Because I think they're on the right track, but they've taken the wrong exit.
Yeah, I disagree with it ultimately. I can tell you, and I'll tell you why I disagree with it. The little market nuances for someone who's as sophisticated as you are, you can get them in no time. Like, there are some things you need to learn, but you can learn them super quick. What I really think matters is your ability to negotiate in the market, your ability to articulate what it is that you have for sale, your hustle, your efforts, identifying the avatar that is going to purchase that home. There's all kinds of stuff. And honestly, it doesn't matter if it's Westboro or the Glebe. You can sort that thing out. That's not that challenging. Whatever, the beaches or Toronto North. So I'm not huge on the area, but I'm much more interested in, does this person do enough surgeries to be proficient? And in your market, the median agent does 0 transactions every year.
That's right. They should ask me how many surgeries I've done this year.
I made this analogy one day and said something like, do you want an open heart surgeon that does this once a year or every day? And someone got very upset that I was considering myself an open heart surgeon. I'm not. I'm making an analogy about practice does create some proficiency. And I think it's important, especially in a market like the one we're in, where not everything's working.
No, and I always hesitate to say this about younger agents, obviously, because I know a lot of really great hustlers that have been in the business for less than 5 years, and I'll tell you they've got a shining future, and I have no doubt that they'll be very, very successful. But I would also say that it's key that if you do come across and you interview a young agent, the question obviously is, by the way, young lawyer, young whatever, it doesn't matter, is what support do you have behind you if you don't know the answer? If you work on a team, great. Tell me about your team. Tell me about the team resources that you have. How often is the team lead involved? Will that team lead be involved in the sale? So that's okay. They're great young agents. But we got a deal done over the weekend.
Congrats.
And I was actually, as I was thinking about it, I thought I have to do a video on this. And this agent also, I don't know how long she'd be in the business. She's really good, but she learned from her dad. She's been doing this a while. And at the last minute, she noticed an easement on the property. Now, we knew of the easement. We didn't think it was an issue. She got all spooked out by it because it wasn't a standard easement. So we reached out to our lawyer on a Saturday evening.
Oh.
Hey, do you mind if can you just throw something in an email or a text that we can flip over just to ease their concerns? Of course, our lawyer on their end, they then said, you know what, we need a couple more hours. We need to contact our lawyer again, Sunday morning, the whole thing. And I said to her, I said, there's a difference between dealing with someone who's been in this business a long time, that does a volume of business, that has lawyers that are going to respond to you on Saturday because you've got a rapport and they're willing to do it for you, versus a newbie. And by the way, that goes for lawyers as well. Is, am I dealing with someone who can get stuff done and has that? I think in our business, our roster.
Yeah, I was just thinking, you've got a shadow team behind you that is really, powerful, and it's not visible necessarily. That's what I'm calling it, a shadow team. But I think a consumer could very easily underestimate the value that brings in a moment, right? It's a big deal. It's a big deal. And, not everyone's taking a call, Rachel Levy calls, that lawyer's answering, and they're not answering anyone's call.
No, but I think there's some things I only deal with lawyers that will talk to my clients before the deal's done. I've had clients say to me, this is my lawyer, and I'll reach out to them and they'll go, oh, no, we just send it to me when the APS is signed. Otherwise I charge $350 an hour. I'm like, no. No.
Yeah. No, I mean,
it's the same in Ottawa. Do you find it's we're talking value proposition for agents, right? And I can imagine same, but then also market specific. So what do you see in different price point? So I guess also different price point, different mentality.
It totally holds. I mean, average agent in Ottawa sells 5.6 houses a year. We've got 80% turnover in a 5-year window. And I got to tell you, what speaks to this idea about whether there's a group of professionals out there that really, make a difference. I get a little smile on my face when certain agents book my listings. I'm like, this is going to go well. And isn't that an interesting thing? And funny enough, I'm a little bit of a numbers geek, and I actually know what type of offers they're going to bring me from their past behavior. Like, I know how they operate, you know? So it's interesting, and it's meaningful. And, you know,
Yes.
yeah. And you know what this does to me? I don't know that all agents are in the same business today. You know,
I
what
love that.
business are you in
But
right
hold on. I
now?
think we need to sit with that for a minute, by the way, because to like on that same like vein, like I tell my clients all the time, if I get an offer from an agent that knows what they're doing, it's 90% done. If I get an agent on the other
Oh
side,
no.
right? Like Sean, if you sent me an offer on my property, I'd be like, don't worry, this is done.
It's gonna work. It's gonna
I have
work.
got this. Don't even worry about the delta. We got this, right? But again, same thing. Client shows up, sorry, agent shows up on a Saturday. We're on the market for 4 days. No conditions. Check. Ready. It's a buyer's market. It's tough out there. But you know what? She meant business. She knows what she needs to do. And that is so as you're saying, like she's in one business, and I would say she's in the business that you and I play in. Okay.
Yeah. I'd like to
And then
believe
there
that.
are other agents who are still sending me like, hey, can you send me the home inspection? I'm like, so that was marked sold 6 hours ago, but we could.
Sure. Yeah, I know. Yeah, speed of light in a way. And, you know, some agents are in the real estate prevention business. But, you know, in defense of all of us, if I look at the years that I've been in the business, which 2002 I got started, like there's been an evolution of what it means to be a realtor in a way. Like
24 years.
yeah, I
Wow.
know, right?
Incredible.
Yeah, I got in when I was 12. Honest. Okay.
Don't lie. 13.
13, almost 13. But anyways, it is interesting, and you know, I have some sympathy in a way because we're not all in the same business, and I think we're at the precipice of yet another evolution of what it means to, you know, to be a realtor, and that's partially probably a function of AI and market conditions and all that stuff. But kind of fascinating, you know, kind of fascinating to just think, what business are we in, and what value do you and I bring? And again, part of it is hidden in the numbers that are not what agents lead with, you know?
What do
And
they
part
lead
of it
with?
is, what's that, sorry?
What do they lead with? What do you think agents lead with?
They lead with ego. They do. They
Look how
lead.
look how special I am.
Well, there's that. I mean, I've got a fancy car and a beautiful hat, and I did my hair today. Can you tell? And you know, they do that a little bit. We also lead with a lot of features that really belie the truth of what's going on. The fancy magazine, the glossy stuff, like that's not what's going to move it. It's really, there's a lot going on behind the scenes. The agents that are great make things happen, and the agents that are average sometimes get in the way of making things happen. And the rest, let's not talk about. But you know, and unfortunately, I don't. Honestly, you and I have an obligation to the consumer for them to understand what they're getting a little bit more than what we're presenting as an industry. And then the other fun topic on this is, I think our role's changing. I think what we're doing is changing. You know.
Our value proposition, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, what does it mean to be a realtor in the current, you know, kind of zeitgeist, the current era, whatever you want to refer to it as, and you know, it's moving. You know, like think about it.
Let's back up. 2002. I mean, you have an incredible story. What did you do? Like 200 sales, like
No. I did 86 sales my first year in the business.
86 in his first
Yeah,
year.
yeah, and then I
Like
did
beginner's
83
luck. And then
sales.
yeah.
And then I did 92 sales, and I was really upset because 86 I was excited about. I literally hit my year's goal by April that year, and I was like, and I didn't know that I was supposed to hand any of them in. So literally, I'll tell you what happened. This is the funniest part of the story. Office manager comes into my office and says, "Hey, how are things going?" I'm like, "I'm on fire." She's like, looking at me like, what do you mean you're on fire? I hadn't handed in anything.
Oh my God.
I didn't know that I handed things to the lawyers, and I didn't know we handed it into the brokerage. No one had sat down with me.
By the way, I have to tell you, like, I know that that sounds so horrible, but like, when I see someone who's like booked something and they're from Rockstar Realty, I don't, they may not be handing stuff in. Actually, that's a real question. But like,
I missed the day that I was supposed to sit in that meeting, that's all. So anyways, 86, 83, 92. I showed up at Richard Robbins that we've, mentioned on this, and I kind of caught on
shout
to
out
the
to
idea
Richard.
that,
Yeah.
yeah, perhaps I was running out of time. But that's not the interesting story. The interesting story is we're end of 2002, I'm getting into real estate, and I'm following around a guy while I'm doing my courses. And he's wearing a pager. He's got a book in his office that has all the
Sorry
listings.
for everybody that was born before.
What's a pager? Do we have to
That
slow
was a
down?
pager. Yeah, that is
So
so
he's
funny.
wearing a pager. That's how we're doing things. We're hand delivering offers. But more importantly, we're literally just moving to a dot matrix platform where a consumer can go look at listings. Prior to that time, as I was starting, there's a real estate book. So we as realtors are the gatekeepers of information, and the only way you have access to information is you go see the weekly MLS book with, with your realtor, and it's available. And, that was our value proposition. And it's a tenuous one. It's not one that I would have loved to be part of when I think about it, but that was the value proposition of an agent.
Do you think that some still believe that, I mean, I would say there's some real estate boards that still like that, but
There's
not to
still
get
some
myself in trouble, but I think there's still,
oh yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, the big hook in the 90s or the 80s was like, call me for a house evaluation.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And it still exists today to some extent, for sure. I mean, I think it's something we cling to because um, it's hard to articulate your unique value proposition in the absence of, information. But let's let go of that. Like that was a long time ago. If you look at where I started, it was at the end of this gatekeeper of information and at the beginning of service provider, so now they have access to some info. They don't have access to all of it. And in that second phase in my career, I would say that there was increased levels of collaboration with my clients. They had all the answers, and you know where I'm going with this. So there is increased collaboration. If you think about some of the things, the Zillows and the House Sigmas that have evolved in that kind of era, the consumer has information, but they don't necessarily have insight or perspective or nuance. And so there becomes this interesting little, I don't know, tension where they know better than you do, but they don't, but they think they do, and they've got access to, and you know what I'm talking about? Like so that was a real stage where it was like service provider. And as the consumer got more and more information and more kind of accurate information, perhaps, you and I pivoted to like, and I think most of us are here today, an experience curator. All of a sudden I think about like, I don't know, 2015, 2016, I'm bringing lattes to my building inspection, and I'm staging homes, and I'm doing videos, and I'm hosting wine and cheese at my fancy listing. You know what I mean? Like really like, you're not buying a house, you're buying an experience. And I think that's giving way to, we've moved from transaction to transformation. And I think that's where you and I have to go to be relevant and meaningful in this. And I got to tell you, I don't even know what it means entirely, but I think we're moving towards transformation. And that's where we're part of a client's aspirations and who they want to become. And how do we interact with that? And how do we, bring significance to their world in who they want to become? And I think that's where we're going to survive going forward. But I got to tell you, it's an infant thought in my head at this point. I don't have it sorted out. It's just where I think we're going.
No, it's an interesting perspective. I mean, I agree with you on the transactional part of it. I think our value proposition is, and I do believe that agents who are transactional will have a tougher time moving forward. Um, I think that you're, again, very similar to this idea of your financial advisor. You have a relationship with your financial advisor. That's not a transactional relationship. And and if we're all out there saying like, well, this is your biggest, this is probably the biggest, purchase of your entire life, and this is the big, how are we not a relationship experience? Um, I would also say that it's true, as houses get more expensive and they're only going up, and those percentages are going up, like the percentages are not going up, sorry, like what we're paid goes up in and let's all remember also that years ago the percentage used to be higher. It has come down. That I think that value proposition just should be and has to be more. So, you know, um, we have incredibly busy lives, us being our clients. And so saying, okay, great, like call me when you're ready to sell your house and I'll come and stick that sign on your lawn and I'll throw an open house. Um, I'll have someone on my team do an open house and we'll just see how it goes. Good market or bad market, by the way, just not the value. So start to finish, bringing those trades. So for someone who's like going in and looking for an agent, I mean, number one, I would say key is interview, interview, interview. So yes, if you want to call the guy or girl that's number one in your area, call them. But also interview them along with someone who has been referred to you that you trust, that has the same mentality. I mean,
You know what I love about referrals as we're talking about this like era shift and this move towards transfer. I got to tell you a transformation story this weekend too. So I told you we're gonna like.
I won't forget.
Yeah,
Exactly.
right. Don't we? Um, you know what's
Follow the
fascinating?
mountain ball, everybody. Yes.
Yeah, no kidding. This evolution, like in the good old day when I started in real estate, let's say, I used to get referred. And what a referral looked like was a happy consumer spoke to a family member, a friend, and the phone rang. And there's an incredible disruption in that process today. And what it is the invisible interview that happens between the referral and the phone call to me. And I just find that so fascinating where, a client's mindset is. So now it goes, Sean was amazing. I had a great experience. Thanks for telling me about Sean. I'm online and I'm interviewing him silently and I'm vetting him before I pick up the phone. So the referral from the individual doesn't hold the same weight as my online search and the opinions of the other of strangers. I find that fascinating.
Well,
It's
you and
just a
I,
little concept.
sorry to interrupt you, but we've had these discussions about my podcast. I mean, I never ask, I do not monetize this podcast. I do not like reach out and be like, click the link for you. None of that.
Yeah.
Major part of this is that someone does say, "Hey, I use Rachel Levy and her team, and they were amazing." Blah blah, and they go on and they see and you know what? I got a T-shirt even. It says, "I'm not for everybody." I only wear it at the cottage, but there's the thing is like this is me. If I'm not for you, it's great. I don't get the phone call,
I know.
but
I
at
know
least
it's
they get to know
interesting.
me before they even call me.
Yeah, I know. No, and this is a great conduit for that for sure, isn't it? It's interesting. So let me tell you where I'm at with this transformation idea. I told you it's in my infancy. But I'm out this weekend looking at a pretty big number in a pretty fancy neighborhood with a young couple. They're lovely, they're amazing. They're just getting their cosmetic surgery practice really up to speed, okay?
The
Really
future is bright.
unique subfield, but we won't go there. That's not what this is about. So I'm in a very fancy neighborhood at a very high Ottawa price point, so like an entry level price point for Toronto. Well, look, 5 to 6
So
times
about that.
income is the average sale price in Ottawa. 11 to 12 times income is average price in Toronto. Move to Ottawa. Okay, so here we go.
Well, now we know who to call. Now we know who to
Yeah,
call.
exactly. So I'm thinking, can you imagine the mindset of a 30-year-old who's just spent, I don't know, 12, 15 years like getting to this point, and he finally has the resources to do something that, that his skill set and his intelligence and his work ethic kind of give him access to. And like, what is he wearing? So I'm driving out to the showing and I'm thinking about where his mindset is, where his family's mindset is, what he's able to create because of, and I reached out to, and he shares a couple of little interests that I have. So didn't work out, by the way, but just look at where my head is. I have a client in that neighborhood. He owns 2 helicopters, 5 cars, and I'm like, I'm gonna have my buddy, because this surgeon loves cars. I'm like, my buddy's who lives in the neighborhood is gonna meet another car guy, and he's gonna bring over his brand new McLaren 765 and meet my client, who's now gonna be his neighbor,
Oh,
and
so
I'm gonna
smart.
build, right?
So smart.
You see the aspiration of, I want to live here. I want to live with people that are, sharing a similar reality. I want my kids to go to that school that apparently is well ranked. This is what I'm saying about you and I moving into the transformation business, about, what are our clients' aspirations? How do we guide them? I feel like it's like
So
this move
brilliant.
towards coach and Sherpa in a way, and away from a transaction. Now, the truth is that thought didn't, in all fairness, come to fruition the way, well, I'll get it done, but it didn't actually happen. But I did connect them, and the story got bigger, and it just didn't quite. There was no McLaren 765 that showed up in the driveway at the house I was showing, unfortunately. So, but the
But
intention.
A for effort. Like I just,
Well, and I made a connection for them, and and it's just. Can we be meaningful in someone's journey? And does that provide value? You know?
so first of all, I will tell you, like every day, all day, and twice on Sundays. I would say that, some of the best, kind of feedback I've ever had is just that I like won't let someone buy something, or that they are worried to talk about to realtor because they're worried that the realtor will just push them into a sale, or and that experience of like, hey, let's take a step back. Like, I love that you want to talk to me. I love that you want me to help you with your journey. Like, let's have a call. Let's talk about, like, why do you want to move? Like, I've talked to people out of moving.
Yep. No, and that's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Well, because this isn't, I mean, I wouldn't sleep at night, right? But, you know, I always say, like, no matter what in life, you want to understand why, the why, the where, the how, whatever, all that good stuff. But why? Okay, because if I don't know why, then I can't help guide you, right? Why do you want to move? Okay, that's great. How long do you want to live there? Right? Okay. Yeah. What if, and I always say to people, like, I want to feel really good that when you call me in 3 years and say, oh my God, I met someone and, we want to sell the condo, we want a house together, I can say, okay, well, our plan was to be here for 5, and that's why we paid X. So we may have to kind of take a cut. Or I can say, we knew we only wanted to be here for a certain amount of time. So again, like that whole, it's part of the experience of being part of their life. Like,
I love
you
it.
know,
Yeah.
not every condo, not every building, not every property, and every house. Like, why in that neighborhood? Why, I've had clients who are like, okay, well, we want to make sure we're in a good school district. And I'm like, okay, you're buying a starter house. You just got
Yeah.
married. You don't even have a child yet. And I'm not saying that I work for you, but like, let's talk about this.
Yeah. Let's
Could
unpack it.
we
I love
do,
it. Yeah.
right? Can we step back and say, hey, would we be better off buying a little less, building the equity, saving that money, and then in 5 years when we have to worry about nursery schools or kindergarten, that we make that move then? I don't know. But if you don't know why, I don't know if you can.
Yeah. I like this. You know what? Like, I'm thinking it's Rachel Levy, the Sherpa, right? Like, you're a real estate coach.
Oh my God, I'm going to change I am calling the printing company.
That's your new
That's it.
business.
That is it. I am Rachel Levy, the Sherpa. No, 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 no.
You're a guy. Forget this leverage podcast thing. Huh? But like part of this, I think one of the things that great realtors do is they focus on blue chip opportunities for their clients. I call it blue chip real estate. Like, what are you going to be proud to sell for your clients The other thing that came to mind as I was listening to is just a hungry agent's a dangerous agent. Like, you
And
don't.
hungry is different than hustle. Let's
Oh my
everybody
God.
understand there's a
Yeah. No,
difference
no, no,
between
no. Your hustle's
hustles.
off the charts. I'm talking about the one that's worried about not making their bills unless they sell this house. Because my concern is the wrong person's interests become at the forefront of the transaction. And I think what you have the beautiful kind of ability to do is, hey, let's worry about you because I know that's going to take care of me long term. And it might be no sale, but it'll be a referral. It'll be a later date. It'll let me sleep at night. It'll give me, the integrity to move forward with someone that needs my help. I think that's a really beautiful place to be able to live. And
Listen, there aren't a lot. There aren't a lot. I mean, we are in a small group, even though people think there's a million realtors. I don't know what the numbers are in Ottawa,
lots, but
but in
not.
Toronto, I mean, it's getting smaller and smaller. Like it used to be, and again, this is going back to people who are looking to hire a realtor this year, next year. We're Sean and I talk about this ad nauseum. Like the market we're in right now is the market we'll probably be in for the next 2 years. Let's just call that spade a spade. But I would say understanding the number of transactions that your realtor does. It can be a team, that's no problem, but understand if the team leader is going to be involved, if that's what you're basing it on, because the nuances of the way the business is changing on a week to week basis. You and I spoke 2 weeks ago about what was going on in the market, and we were like, slowest we've ever seen. But in the last week, I have seen, as you said, it is a living, breathing entity.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's brutal.
if you haven't done this day in and day out, full time for years and years and years in double digits, you know,
Yeah.
how are you
Boots on
going
the
to
ground.
confidently go to market and not like just,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Boots on the ground are huge. They really are. Hey,
huge?
who do you think this market's good for? We talk about like there's all this talk out there about bad market. I'm like it worries the crap out of me that we say stuff like a bad real estate market is not like bad like smoking is bad. You know what I mean? It's
By the way, Sean, smoking's having a comeback. So
oh, is
whatever.
it okay?
Yes. I haven't you
Full
seen Love
disclosure,
Story?
I
It's
might
like
smoke a
having
cigar
the whole
once in a while.
90s, the whole 90s smoking thing is coming back. So, I will reference that great analogy that Tom Story used that I use all the time, give him credit for it, is like we never go to the beach and say the ocean is bad. I was just on the beach 2 days ago. I did not look at that ocean and say it was bad. It depends on what you want to do in it. Do you want to swim? If it's calm, it's a good ocean. If it's wavy, it's not, but it's a great wavy ocean if you wanted to surf. So it's a great question. So I actually went on ChatGPT. My kids would make so much fun of me that I did this and because the way that I use ChatGPT, but I was like, you know what I want? I'm really curious to see what ChatGPT would tell me if I typed in, is this a good time to buy a house in Toronto in this market? And you know what it told me?
Interesting.
It said, again, review the uncertainties, right? Like, so unemployment rate, it talked about, prices, whether they'll go down or not,
Interest rates. Yeah.
inflation, all that good stuff. What did it say? If you are in a secure job and you can financially do it without waiting for an interest rate drop, which is we saw a lot of people do during COVID, then this is an excellent time because interest rates are low and they really are at a great, like everybody
I
who's waiting
know.
1%, they're going to be waiting a long time. These are great interest rates, and
These
your
are
prices are now
wonderful.
we're back to like 2019 prices. Like the correction has happened.
Yeah, I know. I know.
I have a
Yeah.
saying, the best time to move and the best time to buy is when you're ready.
Yeah, I love that. My version of that, maybe I stole it from you. It's like you can't like time your life, not the market, to some
No, I
extent.
think that was yours.
Yeah.
But I
Um,
always say the house always wins. Like, don't try to time the market because the house always wins. Like, it's
Yeah, yeah,
just
no kidding. Yeah, there's only one long-term reality in real estate. Like Ottawa's got a 60-year history of moving at 5.6% annually. Now, it's not, it's not a linear 5.6% increase. There's periods. I mean, between 1990 and 1999, you basically had a $150,000 house in Ottawa if you were the average homeowner. Same. And then we have these accelerations. But if you look over a long period of time, we've got a 5.6% average increase over the last 60 years. Like there's only one reality in the market. And, I think it's been interesting. I think this is a little bit of a COVID hangover still going on. And it's crazy because
a little.
interest rates hovering around 4%, that's 1% to 2% lower than the 50-year average. It's lower than most cycles we've been in. Real estate's on sale a little bit and people are hesitating. The other group that I think
Well,
is
real
really,
estate is on sale, but it depends
yeah,
on
it
what
is. Yeah. Some of it's really on sale. And honestly, like for a vast majority of people that I'm still dealing with, we're moving in the market, we're moving up or we're moving down. And the market doesn't really matter. The delta between what you're buying and what you're selling is what matters. And in many cases, if you're an upgrade buyer, the delta has shrunk and this is even better time. But if you're buying and selling in the same market and things are down, purchases down 5% and like we saw a bit of a reduction in average sale price through the fall and into January. And I'm like, yeah, you're buying for less, you're selling for less. Delta has not changed. Interest rates are great. I just worry sometimes that some of these like wide brushstrokes that we paint the market in do a disservice to the consumer because they put the brakes on because we say stuff like it's not a great market. And does that?
I don't think we do. I think the media says it. I think, yeah. But the mainstream media does because the mainstream media is dying. And it is. I mean, the reality is it is. Everybody gets their news from social now. So they have to have these,
More
exacerbated,
sensational.
like
Yeah.
bait headlines. If you ever, by the way, I stopped reading them, but early on I would click and the headline didn't even match what they were saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, all that to be said,
Clickbait a
to
little
answer
bit.
your question, I would tell you that this is a better market and opportunity for first-time buyers than COVID was.
Yep. Yeah. They can breathe. They can breathe. They can do a building inspection. They can look at a few properties. They can even think about it overnight.
They can bring their parents, they can negotiate, they can have conditions. I mean,
Crazy.
crazy, right? But it's funny again, and I think that this is where, seasoned agent versus, someone who doesn't do the volume is able to give someone guidance in, listen, I would say to someone if they were looking at something right now, I'd be like, you have time. I don't see the market going anywhere. This is not like the hot opportunity. Like, do I think the fall will be any better? Absolutely not.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Right
I'm not. Yeah,
here.
yeah. Here we are. We're right
Here
where
we
we
are.
are.
Even by the way, the other part in Toronto that I would say is a great opportunity, although this particular segment doesn't need the opportunity, but luxury is dead.
Yeah, interesting.
So, I feel like it's I'm watching like 10 million, 11 million be like relisted for 8 million.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
I'll get
Yeah.
right on that. I'm going to pick up 3 of them from you this week.
Well, your buddy
Yeah,
with the McLaren can call me.
we're gonna fly into one of the 2 helicopters and come take a
What
peek
about
at
in
them.
Ottawa? What are the opportunities in the market in Ottawa?
Well, you know what? Like, I just look. I think there's lots and lots. Okay, so every segment is just fine. There is a pinpoint in time when someone who's exiting the market would have done better. And if we look at that one little pinpoint, late COVID, when someone's house was worth more than it is today, if they had exited the market then, yes, they would have been better off. If we eliminate that one little data point, we're as good as we were before and as we've been after. Like, it's not a horrible time at all. It's an amazing time. Real estate's never been this expensive and this cheap in a way, right?
Yeah, it's a good
So,
point.
but that is the group that I think thinks they're struggling the most, is those exiting. So whether that's empty nesters or whatever, someone moving over. The other interesting thing, and I don't have enough data. This is a little bit of a boots on the ground thing. But if you have equity in your house, we've got investment properties that are such a cool opportunity as an
Like
adjunct to your,
multiplex.
yeah,
Sorry, you're
multiplex,
talking.
multifamily stuff. There's a cohort of professionals that don't feel like they're going to ever get into the market, right? Just because of the expensive things. So some of those buildings are currently on sale with decent interest rates.
Very true.
And I feel like there's going to be a market for those, and there's going to continue being a market for those in the foreseeable future. And the quality of the tenant that's now making a long-term decision to be in the rental market is increasing, and so,
And
hey,
there's a
Mr. and
great
Mrs. Equity.
CMHC program. Sorry, there's a great CMHC program for the multiplexes. It's just, I find I don't play in this playground very much, but if I love your perspective, I feel like those buys are very generational wealth. Like this whole CMHC where like you can pull 90% of your equity out and, and all that good stuff. Like, I feel like it's like, oh, let me buy a couple and add it to my portfolio for, 30 years from.
So that might be a Toronto thing. Like, so I've done a bunch of this, not a bunch, but a portion of my business in this space where it's, we've got equity in our house and we'd like to diversify outside of our RSPs or our whatever, our open investments. And I see real estate as a real multiplier effect. Like, think about this. You bring 20% to the table, not 100%, like you would, if I throw 100 grand into an RSP, I earn interest on 100 grand. I throw, let's call it 2 on a million. So I throw 200 grand in my RSP, I earn 8-10% on 200 grand. I throw 200 grand into a triplex in Westboro in my neighborhood, operator standing by. Remember that 5.6% annual income return? It's on the value of the property, not on your 200 grand. It's on a million. It's a 5 times multiplier. Now, the smart people out there going, Sean, there's some costs. We've got, but
Tenants.
there's some costs attached to this, 5 times multiplier. It's called interest on the mortgage. It's called property taxes. Yes, but how many of you know a bunch of wealthy people that own real estate? Like, it's such a cool investment opportunity. So we see that with people with equity. Again, those that are moving up and moving down, they're playing in the same market. There's no market conversation to have. Let's just, win the best we can. And first-time home buyers have the beautiful ability to breathe, to look at something. I just purchased something yesterday, young law student in Ottawa, and we went to see it twice. We
How
got
can
to.
you imagine? I remember in COVID, my favorite story was this these downsizers were looking for a condo. I sold their place out in Durham. And there was a condo they wanted to see, and they were only allowing 15-minute intervals showings. And I said to them, I said, we're not going. And they said, what? I said, I will not allow you to make a decision on a 15-minute showing where they're like, you've got to be joking me. But again, now, so the one other thing I would say that I forgot from an opportunity, and I don't know if you're seeing this in Ottawa also, is fixer-uppers. So I am noticing a trend. People don't want to do the work. I think, listen, in Toronto, and it's not laziness, in Toronto, first of all, real estate is still very expensive. You're not buying a house in a family neighborhood where you've got a good school district and you're going to live there with your 2 kids for 800, for under 2 million even. Do you know what I mean? So based on that, people are still hesitant. And then the point is that, listen, it used to be a 1-to-1 trade to value, to materials. It's now like a 2-to-1. It's still not going down. Stuff is still expensive. So people are like, I don't want to touch, it looks like too much work. I don't, whatever.
Yeah.
If you are someone, for example, in the Toronto market that has 1.6 and you're looking at something that's 1.2 and needs work, negotiate and put that money. You'll probably end up at 1.4, saved yourself. Now, you have to be the kind of person, I always say, there's people who can build a house and there are people that can't. And not because you're going to do it, because you just don't have that personality.
Yeah. You got to be the person.
That is a big opportunity because the stuff that needs work is sitting.
Yeah, you know what? I always think that there's a lot of people out there that can make the payment, but they don't have the cash. they can get them, you know what I mean? Like, and
Sean's
that's
going to
part of,
come up with greeting cards. I just want everyone to know. Sean's got all these great. He's
you know, by the way, I have a new name for you. It's Rachel Levy, the Sherpa with integrity. We missed it. You are not buying
Oh
that
my
condo
God, I
with less
can't
than
stop.
15
It's so
minutes.
good.
And we have
It's
to
like
have
those.
just
Oh,
think of it.
that's so
Like,
good.
there's a portion of the market that is stretching and have gotten a minimum down payment together to buy X, whatever X is. And the prospect of needing cash on top of down payment is not an option. So this is where the bell of the ball keeps selling very quickly. Like, we're in a market with about 56% of homes selling right now. So 1 and 2 is not, in a way. So how do you be the one that sells? Well, you're the bell of the ball. We got 4 months of staying inventory, 56% of homes selling that go to market. So how do you win? Like, as a seller, you need to be the bell of the ball. As a buyer, there's an amazing opportunity, because if you're not the bell of the ball, the discount attached to that property that's not perfect because the buyer pool has shrunk so dramatically is an opportunity. If you have the skill set, if you have the temperament, if you have the vision, it's a brilliant opportunity for a subset of the market. It really is.
It really is. And I think that's I think it's just, listen, it's the same thing. I always go back, like, fixed versus variable. Everybody's risk assessment in their lives, back to all that stuff. You know what I mean? So there's people who look at it and they're like, I would not sleep at night. And
Yeah.
there are other people who are like, bring it on. I'd rather do it myself. Right? So, all right. So we are going to leave everybody with some kind of high level takeaways, since we talked about a million things. But I would say interview, ask questions about what kind of volume your agents are, the agent is doing. What are their systems in place that get your house sold, and why? And then, not no market, in every market there is opportunity, good and bad. So labeling it as bad, this is just the market we're in. And I would call it, I would say, someone in I think they called it a reset market. We're in a reset, right? So
Yeah,
what do
take
you want to do
advantage
in
of
a
it.
reset market? It might be nothing, but there could be. It's like when the stock market goes down. All right, stock market's down, but there's still opportunity. That's when most people buy up.
Yeah, yeah, I like what you're saying. I think that, to me, the winning combination in choosing an agent is twofold. So one is, like, if we understood their numbers, we understood the outcome of their effort. I don't know that you're ever going to be able to unpack how much effort you put forth and how unique your thinking is, and the way you get on the phone for feedback and help someone who says, that's not my layout. Unpack that. Why is that not your layout? And you've got an answer to make it their layout. Like, that is some pure stroke of genius that most don't do. It's a quick email and boom, right? So I think it's really hard for a consumer to understand all that. But you know what? The outcome that is shown in the key performance indicators, some of the math behind your efforts, is interesting. The other thing is, if you find an agent who's got a servant's heart and who really, really cares about your outcome, and you can feel that,
I was just going to say, you can feel it.
like, just if you can feel that, that is critical. And there are some amazing agents out there that really have the purest of intentions and a go-getter attitude. And that's your guy. That's your gal. It's not necessarily the person that's got the most signs in the neighborhood. Sometimes they're playing lots of games. It's the person that conveys to you their
Coming from
expertise.
the guy who has the most signs in the neighborhood.
I
But
wish.
this
I
is what
wish.
I love. You and I have always learned, I've always learned so much because we run our business similar but different in different markets. And so I think it really just drives home that same mentality of client first, um, and that transformation. Well, I look forward to hearing more about that. And I love that idea about the connecting in the neighborhood. Like, I just love that. I really do.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks for coming on and continuing our conversation. And
Always fun. Always fun.
always fun. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
And
you, Rachel
we will
Levy
have you
Lee.
back later on this year to talk about this crazy market.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you.